Wesley Daria is a pretty woman in her 30s who has recently been going through a bad phase in her life. Her boyfriend, the one she thought she would marry and spend her life happily ever after with, broke up with her. She isn't having any luck at any date she goes on, and she's broke, with no job and no money. For that reason, she tries for a position as counselor at a girls-only Catholic school, even though nothing about her is Catholic. During the interview, she shares her thoughts on young girls expressing themselves and learning to explore their own bodies. She thinks it is a good way for them to realize they don't need any boy to satisfy their needs. The nun interviewing her is flabbergasted at the way she says such promiscuous things at an interview for a very conservative Catholic school. But that's who Wes is. She does a lot of things without thinking, and most of the time it puts her in really bad situations. Needless to say, she doesn't get the job. In a meeting with her two best friends, Brooke and Kaylee, she complains about her mess of a life and how nothing works for her. She needs a job as soon as possible, because she's in debt after having a gambling addiction for some years. Brooke, who has a successful career and a newborn baby, also complains about her husband, who has cheated on her. Now, she doesn't know what to do with her relationship. Kaylee has a great husband, but she wants to have kids and can't get pregnant no matter what. They proceed to talk about their expectations for their age, and Wes confesses she thought that she would have a husband, a house, and kids by the time she was 30, yet she has nothing besides bills and a bunch of bridesmaid gifts from weddings she attended. She's desperate right now because she is getting older and she still has to find a boyfriend, and then build that relationship to the point where they can get married and have kids. Her fear is that her ovaries will be barren by the time she finds the right person. Her life is a total mess. The only job she can get are babysitting, which is bad for a 30-year-old, and she steals food from the kids to take home, since she doesn't have enough money to buy food. To make things worse, she gets a voicemail from her ex-boyfriend, who she still has feelings for. He's going to get married to this European girl who loves to travel. And there's even an article in a famous magazine talking about how he thought marriage wasn't for him until he found the right person, which is a slap on the face for Wes. She is devastated. So, on a whim, she decides to give a shot to a blind date her friends have been trying to set her up on. His name is Sean, he's a handsome man and seems really nice. The problem is Wes. When she opens her mouth, she calls him a reject pile and starts to gossip about other people's marriage, which Sean instantly dislikes. Before things go any further than a short talk, he tells her they won't work. Wes gets upset that he didn't even give her a chance, then tells him that she has had a year from hell with 17 bad job interviews, a lot of terrible dates, her car is broken and her birds all suddenly died. After rambling, she storms out of the bar, angry, falls down on the sidewalk and passes out. When she wakes up, the first thing she sees is blue eyes and a very handsome chiseled face. Wes is probably concussed and dizzy, but the moment her eyes fell on the man, she was a goner. His name's Jared, and he offers to take her to his house so she can call her friends to help her. Even though she doesn't know him and he could be a psycho, Wes accepts and goes with him. His house is big and modern, which means he probably has a successful career, and there's a picture of him with a kid that signals he's not afraid of having kids like so many men are. That makes him perfect for Wes. And as it turns out, her concussion helps her get the man because her head is so confused she barely speaks, which she would have done if she was her normal self. His reaction to her listening and not speaking much makes Wes reach the conclusion that men prefer women that don't talk, only listen. When she tells her friends about the meeting and how into her he seemed, they can't believe that she wants to change her whole personality for a man she barely knows. Wes is a very obstinate woman, and she thinks she finally has some good luck in her life after being sure she was cursed. Wes's journey to get the man starts. When he says he doesn't like something, she agrees, even though she likes it. She starts playing games that he loves, but she absolutely hates, and when he tells her he has a diagnosed psychopath for an ex, she just pretends it doesn't bother her and goes with the flow. Doing whatever pleases him leads Jared to think that Wes is the perfect girl, different from all the other girls he has met. Their relationship starts to get more serious. After a couple of dates, they finally are getting intimate for the first time. But it's so bad that during the act all Wes can do is imagine how their life is going to be in the future if their relationship works out. She imagines Jared is going to propose with a big diamond ring, and they are going to get married at the beach. They will have a daughter and stay together until they are old and gray. Then, Wes will finally be happy as she has always wanted. Unfortunately, after they get intimate, Jared ghosts her. 5 days go by with no news from him, and Wes starts to crumble to pieces again. She sees all her hopes and dreams for the future go down the drain one more time. Instead of being mature and moving on with her life, though, she decides to get revenge. So when she's drunk with her friends, she has the idea of writing an email to Jared telling him that she's fine, and asking if the reason why he isn't talking to her anymore is because his dead dad never gave him enough love. Then, her friends add to the message with rude remarks about his life, his body, and how bad he's at intimate acts. They laugh and have a lot of fun degrading Jared, and that brings a bit of comfort to Wes. When she is ready to send the email, though, her phone rings. She gives her notebook to Brooke and goes to answer it away from her friends. At first, she thinks it's her mom trying to talk to her from an unknown number. But it's Jared. He's in Mexico, and the reason he didn't call her before is because he had a terrible accident that forced him into an induced coma. So now he was at the hospital and finally managed to call her. The floor opens under Wes's feet. She tries to get her friends' attention so they don't send the email, but she can't yell at them because she's on the phone with the clueless Jared. When he hangs up, Wes runs after her friends, but she's one unlucky woman because they sent the email. Wes freaks out about what she's going to do now, because there's no way Jared will continue dating her if he reads the mean email she sent. They try to think of solutions to the problem, and Wes has another brilliant idea of going to Mexico so that she can go to his resort, find his room, and erase her email. Her friends are not so convinced, but Wes knows how to emotionally blackmail them. She begs them to go with her on a fun, stalking vacation, and after she gives them the puppy dog eyes, they relent. They go to Mexico and stay at a resort with a view of the ocean, the same place Jared was staying before his accident. When they arrive, Wes' bad luck rears its head again when her purse falls down on the floor in front of a bunch of people, and her intimate toy rolls towards a 12-year-old kid. He takes the toy and tries to understand what it is, which makes the whole situation even more embarrassing and awkward. As they go to their room, Wes meets Sean, the guy she had a blind date with minutes before she met Jared. He greets her and wonders what she's doing there, and she sarcastically tells him that she's stalking him. They banter some more and Sean learns that she's there to stalk her new boyfriend. Wes leaves to go to her room and informs her friends that Sean is there, which they find odd. Later, without a good plan to figure out what room Jared was staying at, Wes has another brilliant idea: to call his phone until they hear it ringing. They spend the whole day walking around the resort trying to find his room while Wes calls him. After 197 calls, they finally find it. Now they have to figure out a way to enter the room. They decide to pretend Wes got locked out of the room while wearing a towel because she had just gotten out of a shower. While she's waiting for a staff member to help her out, Brooke and Kaylee go to the bar to have some fun. Fortunately for Wes, her plan works and she gets into Jared's room. She's searching for his notebook when she gets to the bathroom and notices that there are women's stuff there. She's confused, and the first thought on her mind is that he's cheating on her. But then, when she leaves, the same boy who got her toy early on was there. She understands that she isn't in the right room. His mother appears and screams at Wes, and she runs away. When she goes back to the place where she left her clothes, they are gone. She has to take a pillow to save a slice of her dignity as she goes to the bar to talk to her friends. There, she meets the mother and the kid who has seen her naked again. Wes runs away again, this time with her friends. Next day, Wes feels terrible, but her friends come up with another plan to help her out. They go to the beach where the instructor, who has all the master keys, usually drops his things on the floor while he teaches stand-up paddle. The plan is to grab the keys when he's distracted. While she waits for her friends to sign up for the class, Jared sends her a message telling her that in 2 days he'll be released. At the same time, Sean appears and sits next to her. He tries to make her participate in the class so she can have some fun, but she denies it. Turns out she doesn't have much of an option because her friends can't do the class, so she has to. She spends time with Sean and surprisingly they have fun. She even tells him the reason why she's in Mexico of all places. Brooke and Kaylee get the master key, but before they can go to the room, there's another misunderstanding with Wes and the kid. His mother actually punches her in the face and she's expelled from the resort. They go to a dingy hotel in the middle of the city. Brooke and Kaylee are tired of all the machinations that haven't worked so far and they want to leave. Wes refuses to lose the man she thinks is perfect for her, so she grabs the master key and leaves alone to go back to the resort. She waits until it's dark and crawls between the electric fences surrounding the resort, shocking herself in the process. She gets to the room at last, and as she is opening Jared's emails, the resort staff starts pounding at the door, and Jared calls her to announce he's leaving the next day and asking that she pick him up at the airport. She accepts, of course, even though she's not going to be able to make it since she's in a different country. As she is sneaking out of the room with his notebook, the resort staff break in and follow her. She drops from the second floor, hurting herself in the process, and they come after her. The resort calls the police and Wes is arrested for breaking in. Wes is a mess. Her hair is like a bush and her hands are burned because of the electric fence. She pleads for the police to release her, but it's to no avail. She spends the night alone in the prison, until her friends and Sean are to bail her out. Fortunately, the resort didn't press charges, so she was free to go. Yet, despite all the bad things that happened to her, Wes still doesn't want to give up Jared. Her friends tell her she's being absolutely crazy, that everything she did led her to a prison of all places, all for a relationship she can't even be herself in. They have an argument and they leave Wes with Sean while Brooke and Kaylee go to a guru. Sean wonders what makes Jared so good that he's worth all the effort that Wes is making, and she can't tell him. As they talk, she finds out Sean lost his wife recently and has been trying to get back to dating, and Wes was his first date. Now he doesn't want to date anymore because he doesn't think he's ready for that. Wes confesses that she never works with anyone because she's too real all the time and men don't appreciate it. She's also not sure about her relationship with Jared, but it's all she has after a year of bad things happening in her life. Later, Jared calls her and she tells him that she's in Mexico to take him home. Jared is surprised and tells her to wait at the airport. As they talk, Sean points to a man in a wheelchair on the other side of the street, and when Wes looks, her heart almost jumps out of her chest. It's Jared, right there, a couple of meters away from her. He informs her that his things were brought by the resort and would be taken straight to the airport. Wes pleads with Sean to take her to the airport and he says yes. Meanwhile, Brooke and Kaylee arrive at the guru's place Kaylee was dying to visit. She wants to get pregnant, and she puts it in her mind that the guru is going to help her. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but the guru wants to help Brooke. She isn't open to it at first, but then, after the guru talks to her some more, Brooke opens up and starts crying. She tells the guru she wants many things, but mostly wants to get intimate with someone. Then she kisses the guru and things get heated. As for Kaylee, she's upset that her dream to be a mother was crushed by the guru she has heard so much about. Still, later, when they are going back, she notices that Brooke's finally happy and decides to leave her husband. She also confesses that she's frustrated that she can't have a kid, and Brooke comforts her. Sean and Wes are following the van that's taking Jared to the hospital and the van with his stuff from the resort. They have a talk about Sean's deceased wife and find out they have more in common than they imagined. It was all good until the resort's van took a different turn from the hospital's van. Wes tells Sean to follow the resort van, where Jared's notebook is. In the middle of the way, they get into an accident where their car flips to the side. Fortunately, they don't get hurt, but now they are stuck in the middle of nowhere with no way to go besides walking. It's a good opportunity for them to get to know each other better, and they have fun talking to each other. Moments later, they find the resort van parked in a farm where a birthday party is happening. They crash the party as if they were invited, and Sean gives her some good news. The van's driver is going to give them a ride to the airport. Wes is really glad. They banter some more and Wes tells Sean that she will teach him how to go on a date. As they talk, Wes finds out that Sean is an architect, but he took a leave of absence when his wife died and hasn't returned to the job yet. He's still healing from the process of losing someone important, and though it's slow, he's getting there. As the party goes on, they dance and have lots of fun together. Later on, as they are going towards the airport, Wes shows Sean the email she sent Jared, and advises her to show it to him anyway because he needs to know the real her if they want to go anywhere with their relationship. Wes can't see the truth in front of her face, though. She's really desperate to have a man, to marry and have children, so much so that she can't face the fact that Jared is obviously not the right person for her. He doesn't even know her real personality, and he would probably run the other way if he saw how much she stalked him that weekend. When they finally arrive at the airport, she and Sean say their goodbyes and say they had a lot of fun that weekend. They have a connection and they could work out as a couple if they were ready for that. Still, Wes leaves to go see Jared. He's in bad shape. He tries to check his emails, but Wes doesn't let him. They meet Brooke and Kaylee, but Wes pretends she doesn't know them very well, and that they are old acquaintances. In the plane, Wes forces Jared to take his painkillers so he can sleep and she can finally erase her email before he sees it. When the time comes, she can't do it. She remembers what Sean said about Jared not knowing the real her, and decides to show him the email she sent. As Jared reads it, he can't believe how hurtful and mean she was, especially when talking about his dad, who had passed. Wes thought he would understand and it would strengthen their relationship, but it was the opposite. The only reason he even liked her in the first place was because he considered her different from the other girls, but turns out, for him, Wes is the same. And he doesn't want to have a relationship with someone he doesn't consider perfect or who pretended to be someone else. Jared asks the flight attendant if there's some place else Wes can sit at, and she goes after Brooke and Kaylee, after pretending they are not her best friends. When she calls them, Brooke pretends to be sleeping so she doesn't have to deal with Wes and her drama. Back in Los Angeles, she meets with her friends again and starts complaining about Jared and his notion of women. Brooke and Kaylee had enough of Wes, though. They feel they are unappreciated by her and that she doesn't take them, or their problems, seriously. She always tries to make herself look as if she has the biggest issue in the room and that her life is awful, when in reality everyone has problems. But she's so self-centered she doesn't care about others. She did it with Jared too, when she wrote a really bad email, even though she just needed to step away after realizing he wasn't what she wanted. Next day, Wes wakes up feeling bad about everything that went down with Kaylee and Brooke. First thing she does is send them a message saying she's feeling bad and she wants to talk whenever they're ready. She also receives a voicemail with a job opportunity that came through Sean. She gets the job at a progressive school, the perfect place for her to put her ideas in practice just the way she dreamed of. Days go by and she's doing great at her new position at the school. The students and principal like her, and she can understand them better than anyone. Sadly, her relationship with her friends is not going great. They haven't answered her yet, and she misses them. One day, she goes to Kaylee's house and sees her cat climbing on a tree. She follows him into Kaylee's house and climbs the tree too. There, through the window, she sees a pregnant woman with Kaylee and her husband. She's adopting a baby. Wes is really happy for her friend, even if they aren't talking at the moment, and she doesn't want her cat to get hurt. But when she tries to grab the cat, he scratches her and she falls from the tree, making a lot of noise and catching Kaylee's attention. They come out of the house. Brooke is there too, and she asks why Wes is there. She tells them that she was feeling like she was falling behind, since Brooke was married and had a baby, and Kaylee was also married and thinking about having a baby, while Wes had nothing and no one. She finally realized that she doesn't need a man for her to feel complete or accomplished in her life. She has her friends, who are there for her no matter what, and even went on a crazy adventure, just so Wes could have a chance with a man they didn't even know. She apologizes and tells the pregnant lady that Kaylee and her husband would be amazing parents. Then, she finds out the pregnant woman is actually a real estate agent and Kaylee is just selling her house. Now with a job and her friends back, it's time to fix her romantic life. She stalks Sean on Instagram and finds out where he is. He's surprised to see her there, but doesn't seem very happy because he was waiting for his date to arrive. It's incredibly awkward when his date arrives and Sean doesn't really know what to say. Wes is sad because she was feeling hopeful they could work out. Luckily for her, the girl is also awkward and she leaves with an excuse. The moment they are alone again, Wes thanks him for the recommendation and admits to liking him. Sean says he likes her too, but he isn't ready for a new relationship. Wes leaves, but Sean decides to go after her. He tells her that she is perfect with all her flaws and weird habits, and that he has had a lot of fun hanging out with her in Mexico, more than he expected. Then, he asks her on a date, and they kiss. At last, Wes is going to have her happy ending, or at least another chance with a pretty great guy.